in the past, I have done scheduled live shows. And what I've figured out is that doesn't work for me because my schedule is crazy. Real life stuff going on, YouTube stuff going on. So I just, I got to do my live shows whenever I can, whenever the time presents itself. So that's why it's important that once you become a subscriber of Golden Bluetooth, turn on the bell, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know when I'm going to go live next. Like that, I tried doing a schedule and it doesn't work for me. Something comes up and I got to change it or I got to push it. And then, 3 days later, I still haven't done a live show. So whenever the opportunity is here, that's when we're going to go live. So if you're a subscriber, Golden Bluetooth, make sure to ring the bell, turn the bell on so you get notified whenever I go live. So that's how we're going to run our live shows from now on. It does look like that the SEC and the Big Ten are closing their doors for conference realignment. So maybe, I don't know for sure, but maybe conference realignment starts to die down. There's still the Big 12. I don't know if they're going to do something. I know they've been talking to Arizona State, Colorado, Utah's wants in. They don't want in. I'm hearing conflicting reports about that. Pac-12 is trying to speed up negotiations for the TV deal. I mean, they're trying to speed it up fast because they know they're in danger. They lose their two best markets. Well, it's basically one market, but two different brands in the same market in UCLA and USC. And now they're afraid of losing more customers, aka Pac-12 members. So they're trying to speed up TV negotiations so that doesn't happen. Hey, give us some good numbers so these guys stay. Fox is like, good luck. We're out of this. We're not even going to bid on any type of TV contract for the Pac-12. So Pac-12 in no man's land right now. That's not good. It's not necessarily bad news if you're a member of a team that's in the Pac-12. Maybe Oregon, Washington. Don't worry. You'll land either in the Big 10 or the Big 12. You'll be fine. The fan bases that need to worry are your Oregon States, your Washington States, your Cows. I don't think Stanford needs to worry. They have a good connection with Notre Dame if nothing else happens. And Utah might have a choice between the Big 12 and the ACC. They're interested. So everybody except for Washington State fans, Oregon State fans, and Cal fans, you're fine. You're good. Don't worry. But if you're a fan of those three teams, I wouldn't say worry. But if you want to stay in a Power 5 conference, then yes, worry, because it's looking like you're going to go to the Mountain West. And it's not going to be a Power 5 conference anymore. So if you want to stay a Power 5 conference, then you need to make sure that the Pac-12 gets a media deal in ASAP and keeps the Pac-12 intact, and maybe possibly make that TV deal enticing to other members. Andre King, he's a great supporter. Thank you for becoming a member of Golden Bluetooth. And all you other members out there, you know who you are. All right. So it's early in the show. If you're, a regular here and you watch my live shows, you know what's about to happen. And that is the reminder to hit the like button. It is not a pat on the back for Golden Bluetooth. No. By hitting the like button, you help this video hit the YouTube algorithm. And when the video hits the YouTube algorithm, it gets suggested more people see it, more people click on it, and boom, we have more people watching and more people in the comments, and there's more trash talk. I encourage trash talk. I do not discourage it. I encourage it. So the more people that we get in here, the more trash talk we will have. And if you would like for me to read your comment, put it on the screen, answer your question, or if you're trying to troll me and you want me to read it, Super Chat is the best way to go. That is that little $sign down on your bottom right-hand corner. When you click that $sign, you can choose any amount from $2 to whatever. Write a comment in there, and I will make sure, just like I did with Andre King. See how it's on the screen? Andre King became a YouTube member. I will do that with your comment. I will put it on the screen. I will read it, and I will address it. I will answer it the best way I can. And if it's a troll, I will still read it. I have one subscriber. What is his name? I can't think of it. He's probably not going to like me because I can't remember. But anyways, what he likes to do is he likes to super chat and makes me say, let's go Herd, as in Marshall. I don't like Marshall. I'm a West Virginia fan, but he takes advantage of the troll situation. He does it in good fun, but I mean, hey, he literally makes me say, let's go Herd because of that. So there you go, if you want to do it that way. And of course, there's always the PayPal option that Joey will put in the comments as well. Thank you, Derek Harmon, for the $1.99 super chat. I appreciate that. If I see a comment on down, because I don't see a comment in your super chat, if I see a comment from you on down, I'll try to put it up and address it. So there you go. I do want to highlight this real quick because I like that it's not super chat, but I like this comment. Mike M says Stanford won't leave Cal. Yes, they will, but only if it involves Notre Dame. If Notre Dame says, hey, Big Ten, you get Stanford, we're in. Stanford gets the call from the Big Ten. Hey, Notre Dame wants you. Will you join Stanford and leave Cal? Stanford will say, hell yeah, we're on our way. Other scenarios, you're probably right. If there were other scenarios, you're probably right. But when it comes down to Notre Dame, I would say that Stanford probably would leave Cal. I mean, that's a lot of money. You're keeping big-time rival with Notre Dame. So that's the one scenario that I would disagree. But everything else, I would actually agree with that. Derek Harmon, I see you. Since you super chatted earlier, I will highlight this comment. He says, where do you think West Virginia or where do you think WVU is going to go next? Will they end up going to the ACC? I believe that would be the best for them and the fans. That is the $1 million question, actually. Y'all know me. I've been making videos for the past going on a year about how the ACC and West Virginia have been talking, and they have. But there's a lot of things that go into it. And the biggest obstacle will be the Grant of Rights. The Grant of Rights is both a blessing and a curse for the ACC. It is. It's a blessing because it all but guarantees that teams can't leave the ACC. All but guarantees. Nothing is a guarantee, but it's the closest thing to a guarantee. But the curse thing is it all but guarantees that they can't add teams right now. So right now, I see West Virginia staying in the Big 12 until those Grant of Rights get figured out. And you know, if West Virginia to the ACC is the best thing for West Virginia, then they actually have to hope that the SEC figures out a loophole in those Grant of Rights. And trust me, they're looking for it. They are definitely looking for it. So they got to look for that loophole, find the loophole, and expose the loophole. And they will get teams out of the ACC, and it will look like the ACC is crumbling at the time. This is going to be a phase. So phase one, if this happens, phase one would be the SEC lawyers somehow find a loophole in those Grant of Rights, and they expose it, and they are able to get the marquee names from the ACC. That would be phase one. And it would look like the ACC is falling apart and is going to get blasted into nothingness. So that would be phase one. And it would look, oh, well, there goes the ACC. No hope for them. But then the next phase would be Notre Dame and NBC come in and they grab the rights to the ACC and a TV deal. And Notre Dame and NBC, the saviors of the ACC. And with Notre Dame connected to the ACC, they could draw in big brands from, the Big 12, especially if the TV deal is better. It's all about who has the better TV deal. And there's a lot of what ifs that come into play. And Ferris says there's no loophole. You might be right. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if there's actual loopholes or not. That's for the lawyers to decide. So we'll see if there's an actual loophole or not. You might be right. There might not be. And if that's the case, then the ACC is literally stuck in time. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, they're literally stuck in time. What they see now is what they will see in 2036. No more money, no less money, no more members, but no less members. What the ACC, as you see it right now, you will see it in 2036 if there's no loopholes. It would stay the exact same, and which means that teams like Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, all those valuable brands in the ACC are going to be mad for about a decade because they got to see the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 make more money than that. Think about that. Clemson won 2 national championships recently, and they got to sit in a crappy ACC TV deal and watch not just the SEC, not just the Big Ten, but also the Big 12 teams and the top TCUs, Illinois, Northwesterns, Maryland's, Rutgers, all these, teams, and no offense to any fans of those teams, but they haven't done anything in like a century. And you got to watch those teams make not just a little bit more money, but way more money. I mean, that would drive them absolutely bonkers. David Cummings, a great supporter of Golden Blue. Thank you, sir, for the $5 super chat. And goes, I went to Marshall for a semester in 1999, but I left before that. Had to follow me for the rest of my life. Yes, your decisions that you make today will follow you for the rest of your life. And David Cummings has to live with the fact that, indeed, he was a student member of Marshall. Can't shake that one, buddy. You got my sympathy, man. You definitely have my sympathy. But the good thing is you're a West Virginia fan, so that helps. That helps a little bit. But yeah, and remember that I know we're joshing each other and trolling each other and that stuff, but that's a real life lesson right there. Your decisions that you make today will follow you for the rest of your life. So make sure that you make the good decisions, the right decisions. That way you have good karma and good consequences following. So there you go. As far as the ACC, no loophole, no change. No loophole equals no change. I guess that's a good thing because that means they get to stick around, but it's also a bad thing because you better believe when 2036 rolls around and they've been in that horrible TV deal with no loophole, teams are gone. The ACC is over. So, I don't know what to tell you, ACC guys. I mean, yeah, you're going to exist for a while. The ACC will exist till 2036. Just bad money. And then once 2036 does come around, it probably won't exist after that. Boom to the Sooner. Like the name, by the way. $5 super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. Says, do you think the best brands left in the pack, the Big 12, and the ACC will ally and abandon their other conference members? That's a good question, actually. We saw that there was alliance between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC, and then the Big Ten stabs the Big Ten or the Pac-12 in the back by grabbing USC and UCLA. And yes, I realize that it was UCLA and USC that reached out to the Big Ten, but being in alliance and accepting UCLA and USC, that can be defined as stabbing in the back. Don't take that the wrong way. It was the right decision for the Big Ten. So don't get that twisted. Don't think that I'm talking trash to the Big Ten. I'm just saying, as far as alliance goes, yes, that was stabbing in the back, but it was the right decision for the Big Ten. So now, as it relates to Boom to the Sooners comment, there is a loose alliance between the ACC and the Pac-12, right? There's no alliance between the Pac-12 and the Big 12. There's no alliance between the Big 12 and the ACC. The Big 12 is not in that alliance. It is a loose alliance between the ACC and the Pac-12. Well, now I'm hearing the ACC wants it to be even looser than loose. What that means, I don't know. Well, what it kind of means is they only want certain members. They want to pick the Pac-12 apart. Pac-12, if you didn't learn your lesson from the first alliance, you'll have to learn the hard way. So I don't think there's any real alliance. I think one will try to take over the other. As far as abandoning your other conference members, well, if the grass is greener on the other side, yes, they will abandon their other conference members. Whoever has the best deal, whoever has the greenest pastures, that's where these members will go. So if Pac-12 members are like, oh, that's a good deal over there at the Big 12, they're gone. Big 12 members, oh, the Pac-12, Now, this is totally hypothetical, guys. I do not see it happening. Oh, the Pac-12, they actually negotiated a great TV deal and it's better than ours. They would go over to the Pac-12. That's not happening. It would be the other way around. But yes, they would abandon their other conference members. It all depends on whose grass is greener. But yes, we have seen there's no loyalty in conference membership. Vanity Rose, thank you for the $5 super chat, says Washington State 7-6, Oregon State 7-6, Texas Tech 7-6, Iowa State 7-6. I get you're a fan of your side, but isn't a spade a spade? I understand what you're saying, but you got to look at other things, not just like success on the field. I know that's what we want to judge everything on, but you have to go by what they bring TV-wise, fan base size, not just success on the football field. I would agree with you that looking by those numbers, it would seem to be even. But you also have to look at the standings. Where was Washington State standing in the Pac-12 North? It was way up there. Where was Texas Tech and Iowa State standing in the Big 12? It was way down. So you're comparing teams that finished high in the Pac-12 to teams that finished low in the Big 12. And besides that, you have TV value, fan base size. So you got to compare everything when you're trying to figure out worth and where these teams should go. And like I said before, I am not trash talking Washington State fans. I am not trash talking Oregon State fans or Cal fans. It's just you got to realize, like West Virginia is considered sorta in the boondocks, but Washington State, Pullman, Washington, Oregon State, Corvallis, Oregon, those are considered kind of out in the boondocks, and it's a pain in the rear end to get to. So if they get an invite to, I don't know, Big 12, Big 10, whoever, they got to compare. All right, so is the pain in the rear end getting to these universities balanced out by their worth? Now, in my opinion, and I'm not a conference commissioner or anything like that, in my opinion, I would say no, they would be a better fit in the Mountain West. And who knows? Think about this. Before you get mad, think about this, okay? Maybe Washington State and Oregon State and Cal going to the Mountain West can get the Mountain West a good TV deal. And they can attract bigger brands. And they can fill that void of the Pac-12 falling off, or potentially the ACC getting picked apart. Maybe there's a void of, Power 5 conferences, and it's down to Power 4. And the Mountain West can build up and build up and build up. And their first step is by taking Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal. And those three schools make a name for themselves in the Mountain West. And they build up Fresno State, Boise State, San Diego State, which most people think that San Diego State and Boise State are on the verge of being Power 5 members anyways, possibly getting invites to the Big 12. That was before all this, fallout, and they're funneling a lot of money in their facilities. So don't take it as disrespect or, man, that's a major step down. There's always potential. You got to see the good things. And then, if the Mountain West gets built up and they show, hey, we have value over here, and the top whatever 64 teams, 60, 50, how many ever it is, with the Big Ten and the SEC do eventually break off from the NCAA, create their own playoffs and national championship. Well, maybe, just maybe, the Mountain West, with the addition of those three brands and maybe some other brands, have built up their value, and the Big Ten and the SEC's over there going, man, they've been doing really good over there. They've been making, you see the money they've been making? I didn't see that coming. They've been making some money. You think maybe we should invite some of the members of the Mountain West? What do you think? I see some value. See how it's all about building your own value and your own brand. This isn't, a lot of people are thinking this as like a sort of predestined type of thing. Only the best brands right now, 20 years from now, will be broken off from the NCAA and be making money. That's not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case. I don't see this happening like this year, or there's still time. My point of this rambling is there's still time for people to show their value, for people to say, hey, our brand is worth something. Hey, look at us. We actually contribute financially, monetarily, brand strength, whatever you want to call it. And so, the SEC and the Big Ten see that, and they've built it up. Let's, might be worth a shot. So people like to focus on the here and now and like, oh man, the Pac-12 is getting picked apart. We're going to end up in the Mountain West. Man, that sucks. What are we going to do? Well, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always, what's true today may not be true tomorrow. That's another thing you got to keep in mind. What's true today might not be true tomorrow. Things change, and you might actually be the greener pasture tomorrow. So don't discount anything. Give me 1 second, guys. I am going to type in the link to the StreamYard. So instead of doing a call-in show, we've kind of switched, and it's kind of everybody, to be honest with you. YouTube channels have switched from calling in to just joining us on StreamYard. And I understand that some people don't want their face to be seen on camera, and that's fine. You can turn your camera off and just talk to me, and that's the same thing. That's the same thing as a phone call, and the quality is better. So I'm making sure I have all my information correctly. With the StreamYard, there's all kind of weird characters that you got to make sure that you get right. I think I have it. There's the link. I put it in the comments. And if it doesn't work, let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I put in something wrong or something. I don't know. So if you want to call in, that's how you do it. Hit the link right there. It'll bring you up. Show me your face when you're backstage. I'll give you the thumbs up, bring you on, and you can turn your camera off. No problem. But if you want to be seen on camera, no problem as well. We'll show you on camera, but that's how we've got to do it now. Also, member comments. I will show them. RR Golden Bluetooth member says, "Did Notre Dame come to your rescue yet?" Golden Bluetooth. Notre Dame hasn't come to anybody's rescue right now, so they're standing pat. And everybody's making these articles how Notre Dame is the next big domino, and they are. But I also saw. Hold on, give me 1 second on this one, guys. I saw something from one of my good friends through Messenger. Not just that Notre Dame's the next domino, but the headline says Notre Dame's decision will change college football forever. So it's even bigger than that. It says, Is Notre Dame joining a powerhouse conference? Is the question. Well, the answer is yes. We just don't know which one. I'm actually going to read through this article and formulate my own opinion and stuff like that. But I wanted to do this live show before I do that. So short answer, no, they have not come to our rescue. They have not come to anybody's rescue. They are standing pat. And from my understanding, I think the SEC and the Big Ten have actually closed their expansion doors for 2022. Not closed forever, not by a long shot, but for this year, for now, they have shut the doors. Pepsi break. Excuse me. Yes, Notre Dame is the one factor that will determine a lot of things that we all don't know right now. Like, Stanford and Notre Dame. What about Oregon and Washington? Well, for right now, since Stanford and Notre Dame haven't said anything about joining the Big Ten, they're like, well, Oregon and Washington don't move the needle enough right now, so we're not gonna invite them. Could they in the future? Absolutely. I think they would be a great addition for the Big Ten. What's going on, Port Knox? I like your name, by the way. That's great.
Hey, what's up, buddy? That's just a little nickname for a town I grew up in the Northeast. But I just want to say I'm obviously a Canes fan. But I follow your content. I think you do a great job. So I just follow along with what you got going on. And
hey,
really
let me ask you something. You said you're a Canes fan.
As far as
do you follow Hurricane TTY and Wholesome Holloway? Those are and Coach Coop. Coach Coop.
I like Holloway. Coach Coop. I just got off with Coach Coop. Not Coach Coop. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Coach Hayes that was following the Raul Aguirre commitment just a little while ago. But yeah, Coach Coop's a good dude. He did a show with Flo on Sunday night, and it was a good time. I like old Coop from Tennessee. He's a cool guy.
Flo's another good one too. I've been on his show.
Yeah, no doubt. But as far as this conference realignment thing, it's really kind of crazy because you can go so many directions with it. And I think, like, for you guys, I put it in the chat earlier, I think that for you guys to be in the Big Ten seems to make more sense to me.
The only thing about that
stuff, and I think
the only thing about that is academics. The Big Ten has made it well known that they look down on us for academics, but I do agree with you, like, culturally, geographically, and believe it or not, West Virginia does have an ally with Penn State in the Big Ten. They would vouch for West Virginia for sure. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Get you guys in Pitt getting over there or something.
Cool. No, Pitt's in the ACC, but they have AAU status, and that's one thing West Virginia doesn't have either is AAU status. So they would have to be a little bit more lenient on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was kind of it. I just I'm hoping that eventually we make our way to the SEC because I think it just makes
I think the key to that is Florida.
Like
if Florida can get over themselves for whatever reason, they don't want to play Miami. We'd rather have Florida State than Miami. But Sankey has I've seen articles where Sankey has said, he likes the Miami market. He wants Miami. So Florida's just going to have to get over themselves. I think Miami should be on the first four list. I think they're that good of a brand. The one thing that I think Miami needs to do, and I said this on yesterday's show, is I think they need I don't know if it's possible, so I'm going to say on-campus stadium loosely, but their own stadium, 60, 70,000, nothing ridiculous, but, I think playing in an NFL stadium.
And the problem,
Hello.
I would agree with that. What's going on, Buckeye Nation? Hey, by the way, back to Fort Knox real quick. Hold on. You are blessed, my friend. You are blessed. You're a Miami fan, and I have seen so many great Miami YouTubers. So I got to tip my hat to the Miami YouTube world. You guys are kicking it. You guys are rocking it. So
and it's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those deals where we feel real good about ourselves again, and let's just hope it pans out this time for the first time in some time. So, but we're real happy with where we're at, and the on-campus stadium thing. If you know anything about South Florida, you can only build so far west, and you can only build so far out into the Everglades. So everything is just kind of on top of each other. So finding a place to put a stadium that you only use 6 or 7 times a year is a challenge. So there's a few parks, Tropical Park, and a few other places that have been talked about. But to be honest,
let me ask you this before I let you go. Let me ask you this: let's see, how do I want to phrase this? What occupies where the Orange Bowl used to be? Do you know?
Marlins Stadium.
Okay, so
the Marlins they knocked down they marked down the Orange Bowl and they put up where the Marlins are. Now there has been talk about the Marlins possibly because they don't draw for anything.
That was a bad decision.
Apparently there's been talk about the Marlins may possibly moving to Nashville, and there being something up the sleeve about retrofitting that stadium to go back to football, and that would be what's up.
That's what you need to do. I like that. Well, keep me up to date on that situation. That's where you need to go.
Yeah, man.
All right, bud.
Hey, buddy, keep up the good content, man. I really enjoy what you do, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Well, Buckeye Nation, buddy. What's going on, man?
Nothing. This is my first time on a college football show.
No problem. What you want to talk about? Obviously, things are good in your world. You're an Ohio State fan. I mean, nothing to complain about, right?
I mean, if you ask me, I find it very laughable that USC doesn't want to play at Notre Dame in November, yet here they are wanting to travel to the Midwest in December. Hope you like playing in Columbus. It's freezing cold.
I don't know how that's going to work out for them. Well, obviously, I think there's going to be a learning curve. Well, I say learning, but really it's traveling curve. They're not. This is going to be. Oh man, this is going to be a rude awakening for USC and UCLA. It's not. It's not that bad for the rest of the Big Ten because If they do have to travel to Southern Cal, it's going to be once a year at most. They'll probably rotate UCLA and USC for everybody. So that's one trip for everybody else. For UCLA and USC, that's 4 or 5 trips a year. And some of those trips is going to be in close to winter, the November and December games.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see how they play in that kind of weather.
Yeah, and here's another thing. UCLA seems to be in debt, right? Before they joined the Big Ten, they were in serious debt with considering cutting sports. How is that exactly going to cut out for them? Yes, the payment is going to be great, but
well, hopefully they have a good accountant. That's all I can say. They better know how to balance the books and figure out how to get out of that. Otherwise, it could follow them forever.
Yeah.
And who knows what can happen after that. But, yeah, I'm not sure how big the debt is. I would have to compare, how much the debt is and how much they're making per year to get a better feel on their financial situation in the Big Ten.
Almost 100.
It's going to be better than the Pac-12, though. We know that.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I heard, if you all haven't watched this guy, D1360, go check him out. He basically did a realignment analysis video. It seems the Big Ten's going to target Notre Dame so they can bring in Stanford. Say
that again.
Notre Dame and Stanford are their next targets, either that or Oregon and Washington.
But what did you say before that? As you said something, you said to clear the way for Notre Dame and Stanford.
If the Big Ten can bring in Notre Dame, they'll bring in Stanford. Stanford's in the Bay Area. Stanford's in the Bay Area. They're number 2 in academics. That's big.
It is, especially for the Big Ten. People try to downplay that, but it actually is a big deal for the Big Ten. And I would say there's some validity to that because the Big Ten has actually turned down Oregon and Washington. Oregon and Washington did, in fact, apply to the Big Ten. That happened, people. It happened. They got turned down because the Big Ten's next target is what Buckeye Nation said is Notre Dame and the SEC. That is their next target, okay? It is.
Yeah. So now Oregon and Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
But they could add them later. But next target is most definitely Notre Dame and Stanford. I would agree 100%. What's going on, Tony?
Hey, Buckeye Nation. Hey, Golden Blue dude. I disagree with you, Buckeye Nation, a little bit because Notre Dame, it doesn't make sense for Notre Dame to be in 2 different conferences for multiple sports and stuff like that. So Notre Dame would have to go to the ACC. It doesn't make sense logistically for them to do that.
That does make things a little sensible.
That's actually a good point. That is a great point. People forget, number one, Notre Dame is a part of a conference. Big Ten in hockey, ACC and everything but football, and then, of course, football independent. And it is in their ACC contract that if they are to join a conference before 2036, it's the ACC. That's where the SEC lawyers finding a loophole in the grant of rights comes into play. That's why I've been making videos about the grant of rights a lot. That is bigger factor than Notre Dame because if they can't find a loophole in the grant of rights, then Notre Dame isn't going anywhere. People forget about that. It's not just everybody else. Notre Dame is included in on that. So
and let's not forget also. You can if the NBC thing, the NBC CBS thing with Notre Dame and stuff, they can see if they can convince NBC to buy the grant of rights from ESPN and stuff like that, and the ACC can have all their games on NBC, which is, for me, NBC would be a better what is it called? A better
contract deal.
Better view. You get a bigger market and stuff like that than ESPN. Do you agree?
If they change the way they present their football games, and I talked about this. I think it was with Lou, or it might have been somebody else. I talked about this with somebody. If you watch games on ESPN, and there's a Notre Dame game on.
It was with Outlaw.
There you go. Good job, Outlaw. Yes, I knew it was somebody. If you watch a game on ESPN and then a game on NBC, it's like, even though they're both football games, it's like you're watching football and you're not, because ESPN makes Saturday all about college football, like the entire day. College Game Day builds it up. hey, the premier game is going to be at 7 o'clock. We're talking about all the games, though. Then they do their 12 o'clock, their 3:30, and their 7 p.m. They own the day. You know, oh, by the way, Notre Dame's playing on NBC, so I'll go check it out. So you go over to NBC, check it out, and it's like they have like 30 minutes of talking about Notre Dame, and then here's the game. There's no build-up. There's no excitement. There's no juice to it. So as long as NBC can figure out how to present football better, I would be okay with that. That would be the only thing that I'm concerned about.
I disagree with you, Golden Blue Dude. Look how they present NBC Football Night in America for the NFL. They do it really well. Is that
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. For the NFL, they do it well. And even whenever the NBA was on NBC, that intro is burned into my head. That's the NBA on, that is the best intro of all time.
The NBA on NBC.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, Google it. NBA on NBC theme song. It is the best theme song ever. So if they can do something like that, they will be good. I want to ask Hokie for Life, Virginia Tech fan, right? So in a perfect world, would you prefer, now let's say money is absolutely even. Money is not, there's no worries about money. It's the same everywhere. Would you prefer Virginia Tech in the Big Ten, the ACC, or the SEC?
I'd rather the ACC just stay together entirely, but
that's the point I've been making right there, guys. Teams that are in the ACC love being in the ACC. They don't love the money. That's it. That's what it comes down to. And it's not just Virginia Tech fans. I've talked to Clemson fans. I've talked to North Carolina fans, Florida State fans, Miami fan. I know the guy earlier said he wants to be in the SEC, but that's because of money. If money is off the table and it's all even, ACC teams actually want to stay in the ACC.
If money's
because
off the table,
everybody
for
fits
me,
together
I prefer
the
the Big Ten.
For me, I would rather, as a Hurricanes fan, if money is even, I would rather leave the ACC and go to the Big Ten.
Really? Why is the reason I'm shocked is because of the geographic thing. Like, if the money's even, why would you rather be in the Big Ten?
The geographics thing means nothing because look at UCLA and USC.
I understand, but that came down to money. If the money was even, they would have stayed on the Pac-12. So all this is assuming that the money's even, but you would still rather Miami to go to the Big Ten, right?
Yeah,
if money was even, Texas A&M and Missouri would not have left.
That's true too.
Why, as a Hurricanes fan, I would want to bring back the rivalries we had with Ohio State and Michigan in the 80s and stuff like that. We had good rivalries with Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State in the 80s and stuff like that.
Then shouldn't you guys go independent?
No.
Well, I mean, if money wasn't an option, then yeah, but it actually is. So I wouldn't.
That's what's hurting Notre Dame. That's what's hurting Notre Dame. They refuse to go into a conference because they're too. It's greed. It's greed. They don't want to be sharing the pie with another conference and stuff like that. That's why they what's it called? Rejected the Big Ten because the Big Ten didn't want to be on NBC.
Right.
And stuff like that.
So Tony, you're a Miami fan, right?
Yeah.
And Hokie for Life, you're a Virginia Tech fan. So I got two ACC fans right here. So we're all hearing that the SEC is trying to grab 4 teams, and they're probably going to try to grab 4 more after that. And the SEC lawyers, the biggest hurdle is the grant of rights, right? So since I have 2 ACC fans on here, I want to ask both of y'all and see if y'all agree or disagree or figure out what you're thinking. If that happens, well, first of all, are you hoping that the SEC does figure out around the grant of rights and teams can exit the ACC? I'll give it to Hokie for Life first.
I don't know. I'd rather stay in the ACC right now, but
so there's a pro and a con to them voiding the grant of rights. The pro, of course, is much easier adding teams because that's a big hurdle that they had to figure out. The second thing, well, the con would be teams leaving if it is broken. What about you, Tony? Do you hope that they figure it out sooner rather than later?
Yeah, no. For me, the teams leaving, it would make it easier for Notre Dame to join, and
Right.
And this is a big thing, and Hokie might agree with me on this. If the SEC lawyers are able to figure it out, we can convince Oregon, Washington, and Stanford to come in with Notre Dame. So we have the West Coast, you can still call it the ACC, call it the All Coast Conference, because you have Coast teams and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I've heard that the ACC. That's what I was talking about earlier. The ACC and their loose alliance with the Pac-12 is they're actually trying to make it to where, it's even looser because we just want Washington, Oregon, and Utah. So you're on to something, Tony. And the ACC definitely does want those teams out west. But then, the grant of rights come into play. And I'm not sure about if you add teams, does that change things?
Yeah, no, because remember, Notre Dame, like I said before, Notre Dame and NBC is a big factor in this. Don't forget the NBC thing. If NBC's lawyers can actually find a network lawyers, for me, network lawyers are more important than conference lawyers, to be honest. You agree with that? Because it's a network thing, not a conference thing.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm glad we were talking about this whenever I saw this. I just got some updating news. ESPN and the ACC are looking to renegotiate their TV deal. It just popped up on my phone. 365 is talking about it. Uncle Lou might be talking about it. We're going to be talking about it. This is a big deal. And if 365 is talking about it, then there's some juice to it. So, yes, it looks like ESPN and the ACC are trying to renegotiate the TV deal. That is some big. That could be a game changer, guys.
Yeah, no, and back to what I was saying earlier. For me, I would Utah. For me, makes more sense in the Big 12 than the ACC, in my honest opinion, because they're closer to Texas than Florida.
Yeah, but so did USC and UCLA. They made more sense in the Big 12, but it's all about the money. So I don't think we can look too much into geographics now. I'll give you this: before USC and UCLA, I would 100% agree with you. But the Big Ten grabbing USC and UCLA broke that rule. That rule does not exist anymore. It's all about who has the best brand and what's the best decision for these teams. As a Big Ten fan, Buckeye Nation, the ACC and ESPN renegotiating are looking. I don't know if they're actually renegotiating. They're looking to renegotiate. So if they lock down the ACC and the Big Ten actually can't get any more teams from the ACC, are you okay with that?
I mean, I want to ask a few ACC fans in the chat. Would you really care if the Big Ten can't get to you? Like Virginia fans, Carolina fans, FSU, Clemson. Would you guys really care in the end?
What about?
I don't care. For me, as an ACC fan for sports, I don't care if North Carolina and Duke and Virginia. Not Virginia Tech.
Hey, hold on, guys. I'm going to mute myself. Y'all keep talking. I'm literally getting calls about this, guys. Hold on. This might be bigger than what I thought.
Okay. Yeah, and Buckeye Nation, I actually disagree with you. I wouldn't, as a fan of the ACC, for me, I care more about Virginia Tech than Virginia, North Carolina State, North Carolina, and Duke. I don't care if they go to the Big Ten, in my honest opinion. I do not care, in my honest opinion, if those teams go to the Big Ten. In my honest opinion, I would rather have bigger brands in terms of football in Oregon, Washington, and Stanford over a bigger brands in basketball, in my honest opinion. This is more about football than any other sport. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
I'd rather keep the rivalry with Miami. That's the main reason I want to stay with Miami in the conference.
Do you care about Pittsburgh going to the Big Ten as a Vautech fan, Toki?
I like that rivalry, but I don't really care.
I mean, I wouldn't care if Pittsburgh came.
The main thing I care about is just staying in the Power Conference.
Yeah, no. Yeah, for me, I don't care if I lose Syracuse, Boston College. But Boston College could help us get Notre Dame because they're rivals.
Yeah.
So, and Buckeye, like what ACT, like if you had a choice as a Ohio State fan, would you rather have Miami or like the teams I was telling you, Notre Dame, like not Notre Dame, North Carolina, Duke, and Pittsburgh for basketball?
I mean, I would like Pittsburgh. It gives Penn State a rival. They've got that. They get us in our team in Pennsylvania. It pretty much locks down the state for us.
Yeah.
Does Penn State have enough power in the Big Ten to where they can convince enough people to vote against Penn State Pittsburgh going into the Big Ten?
That I don't know. They're a big brand, but I don't know if they'd get teams like Ohio State, that team up north, or Michigan State to agree with them.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm talking about like teams like Northwest. Do you think they would get teams like Iowa?
Sorry, guys.
And Northwestern to join them voting against a team like
Pitt, Iowa State, Notre Dame,
Cincinnati. No, for me, Cincinnati makes sense in the Big Ten. But do you think Ohio State, as an Ohio State fan, would you actually like Cincinnati in the Big Ten?
I mean, I'd like it, but I don't think they'd be ready.
All right, check out this, Notre Dame fans. I'm glad somebody's doing the math for me because I don't have the time. I would if I did. Christopher Morgan, $10 super chat. Appreciate your contribution. He says, as of today, if Notre Dame were to leave today, remember, every year after it goes down because it's a yearly payout. But as of today, if Notre Dame was to fully exit the ACC at $52.1 million a year for the next 14 years, would cost roughly $729.4 million. And also, NBC expires in 2025. And Under Armour, people forget about that one too. I forget about that one sometimes. Expires in 2024. So if you look at the overall picture, it's actually in the best interest for Notre Dame to not join the Big Ten and to not leave the ACC. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's in their best interest to join full-time in football. All I'm saying is it's in their best interest to not leave the ACC altogether. So I'm glad Christopher Morgan was able to pull up the numbers.
Yeah, no.
But I think the number is lower than that. I thought it was like 39 million, but still, that's still a crazy amount.
Yeah, and the Under Armour thing is a good thing because you actually most of the teams in the ACC are Adidas. So if Adidas can convince Notre Dame to come over to Adidas, it would be another big convincer for Notre Dame to come in and stuff like that.
That is a well thought out point, and that leads me to Oregon. Phil Knight, the Nike owner, president, founder, whatever you want to call him, he's come out and said that he actually wants Oregon in the Big Ten. I don't know if that's going to result in anything, but as far as Oregon having Nike's blessing, whatever you want to call it, their blessing would be with the Big Ten. Could that play a factor in, the Big 12, Oregon getting an invite from the Big 12 and Oregon say, no, Nike wants us to be in the Big Ten?
Yeah, that's a question I want to ask. Buckeye, are most of the teams in the Big Ten Nike or Adidas? Is my question.
I mean, I think it might be Nike.
So yeah, it would be easier. It would make sense for Oregon to go to the Big Ten if they're Nike and stuff like that. So logistically and money wise with uniforms, it would be easier for them, so they don't have to switch to Adidas and stuff like that. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so uniform wise, it would make sense. Uniform and money wise, I think it would make sense for them to go to an integration, because the Big Ten, Tony Almonte said it the best. The Big Ten is the best in terms of integrations with their programs.
I put the link in the comments, Jeff. Tell me if it doesn't work. I think I've got it right.
So, logistically, it would make sense for Oregon and Washington to go to the Big Ten, because they're actually closer to Ohio, Michigan, and stuff like that in terms of travel. Logistically, travel-wise, it would. I know geographics doesn't make a whole big difference now because of the Notre Dame, UCLA, and USC, but realistically, Oregon and Washington make more sense in the Big Ten. You agree? You guys agree?
Yeah. And Nick D TV said each school decides their own uniforms as far as what they want to wear. That's true, but certain schools have actual contracts. Like Oregon with Nike, that's it. They have to wear Nike. So there are schools that can, this year we want to wear that brand. Next year we want to wear that is true, but there's certain big, marquee names that don't have that choice. They have to go with their contract.
Nick, is it Nick you said?
Nick DTV.
Yeah, Nick DTV. But you have to realize and certain conferences have contracts in general for uniforms as well. Like the ACC is Adidas. I think the SEC is Nike, I believe, right?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to read something. I got this from Jeff. I think he's going to jump on here in a minute.
Should I jump off?
Who was first? Was it Buckeye or Tony that was on first?
I was on first.
All right. So we're going to rotate you out and bring Jeff in.
Okay.
And then
later, everybody. I'll come back later.
Yeah, that'll work, buddy. I appreciate you coming on. All right.
No problem. I enjoyed being here.
All right, buddy. Anytime. Jeff, I was actually about to read the screenshot that you just sent me as far as ESPN and ACC. I'm guessing is what this is about. It says, I don't know who's talking. I guess we'll figure that out.
It's North Carolina.
Okay, this is from North Carolina president, I'm guessing. I'm optimistic we're going to get a better contract, he said. I think ESPN recognizes the importance of a strong ACC, which it really is. It's an incredibly strong conference. One thing that I'm proud of as chancellor of UNC Chapel Hill is the ACC is well known in excellence in academics and in athletics. I think we've proven that, and I think that this is the right fit for North Carolina. North Carolina making a statement saying that they feel like they fit in the ACC, and the only reason that they would even consider the SEC is money, and now they're hopeful that they're going to get a contract renegotiation. What's going on, Jeff?
But if you read the bottom of that, it says, but Carolina is well positioned to go wherever it wants and may carry the fare of the historic conference with it.
Gotcha.
So basically what North Carolina is doing.
That makes no sense. How does Carolina have that much power in the ACC? ACC in terms of football, they've never been a successful football program.
Okay, but here's the problem. A lot of people are looking at this, and I mean, we're on call shows all over the place about football. This is about everything. North Carolina is becoming a big state. I think with the viewers and that, North Carolina has a lot of eyeballs, and you get a conference like the SEC. Miami would be a great fit for the SEC. The problem is we already got Florida. North Carolina is a state that both the Big Ten and the SEC wants and needs. So North Carolina will get the pick over Miami right now to come to the SEC.
Yeah, unfortunately. Christopher Morgan, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, personally, I always liked Notre Dame in Adidas. I would agree with that, actually, rather than Under Armour. But imagine Notre Dame with that Nike swoosh. Come on, Phil Knight, make it happen in 2024. I can roll with that comment. I agree. I don't like Notre Dame in Under Armour. I liked Adidas better, but Nike would probably be the best fit for Notre Dame. So I agree with that comment. I'm getting mixed signals from this screenshot that you sent me. So the first signal that I get is North Carolina does want to stay in the ACC. Okay.
Right.
First, reaction. We want to stay. We're hoping that we can renegotiate a TV contract so we can stay. But then the next signal that I get is, but if that doesn't happen, we're more than willing to move on and carry the ACC brand with us onto the SEC. How would that work out?
I think you're looking at probably maybe 60% is what North Carolina is looking for. That if they could renegotiate the ACC contract and get about 60% to 70% of what the Big Ten and the SEC gets, they'll stay. They're happy in the ACC. The ACC is a lot easier than both the Big Ten and the SEC is going to be. But if they're still going to get pennies compared to what the others are, they're prepared to walk away.
Right. Hokie for life. So how does this make you feel? This literally happened while this live show was going on. I got updates from Jeff. 365 did a short video on it. Emotions may have changed right in the middle of this live show. How are you feeling knowing that they are actually looking into renegotiating the ACC contract with ESPN?
Get me a little nervous.
Nervous good or nervous bad?
Slightly good, slightly bad.
Slightly bad because
I'd like to go to a bigger conference, but also I like what we have in the ACC right now.
Right. I can agree with that. And like I said earlier, pretty much every fan of a team that's in the ACC that I've talked to prefer the ACC. They love it. They just don't prefer the money. So if this happens and the ACC can renegotiate that and ESPN can come within 60, 70% and everybody stays, that changes the game. And then the ACC is in the driver's seat, not the Big 12. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they'll be ahead of the Big 10 or the SEC. No, that's never going to happen. What I'm saying is for this next phase, there's not going to be enough room for the Big 12 and the ACC. One will have to overtake the other. Now, as it sits right now, without any renegotiation, I think the Big 12 is in the driver's seat. But if the ACC and ESPN are renegotiating, that would put them in the driver's seat. And I was wondering if that was going to happen because this would make sense for ESPN. They would prefer that the ACC exists over the Big 12 because the Big 12 is Fox. Fox has the TV media deal with the Big 12. ESPN has the TV media deal with the ACC. So if ESPN has to pick, all right, which conference do we want to get picked apart? It's going to be the Big 12. They're not going to want their own conference that has a deal with ESPN to get picked apart. So this might be a smart move on both sides. What do you think, Jeff?
Now, here's my question, and I don't have the answer in front of me. I'll have to look it up. But let's say they do open up negotiations. Is the ACC worse off just saying, you know what? Let's let North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, and Florida State go to the SEC. That's what they want. Let's let them go. Let's bring in Notre Dame, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington. Do you really lose money or do you gain more money? You know, is a Notre Dame's going to be worth more than any of those four.
Yeah.
Oregon is going to bring Nike with them, so they're going to bring you money. Stanford is Stanford. They're going to help you all around. So I really think you're better off just saying, you know what, these four schools are unhappy. Goodbye, we'll take Notre Dame.
You know what this tells me? This tells me that the Notre Dame boards were onto something, that Notre Dame has been interested in joining the ACC for a little while now. They don't like the money, so now it's renegotiation time. And I think that's the biggest pawn that the ACC has is Notre Dame. Hey, if we can bring in Notre Dame, They might be able to go above 60, 70%. They might be able to get closer than that with Notre Dame.
Jeff, I have a question for you, actually. Let's say, hypothetically, the ACC renegotiates and lets those teams that you were just talking about walk to a different conference, and we bring in Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, and Stanford. Does this actually convince Notre Dame to have most of its games instead of doing NBC? They let their contract expire and come to permanently to ESPN. Is my question.
Well, I think at that point, what Notre Dame does is say, okay, we're going to come to the ACC. We're going to bring NBC with us. And I think NBC will shoulder some of the contract with ESPN. So ESPN will save money, but it'll also bring NBC in, which will give you another channel to put your games on. And
yeah.
I think
but the issue with that, Jeff, the issue with that is Disney owns both ESPN. You really think they want to partner up with a rival company? Is my question. Disney,
and that's why
ESPN
2025 was so important. That's why the boards were saying Notre Dame wants to join in 2025 because that is when that NBC contract is up. That is a great point, Tony. I don't think Disney and honestly, I know NBC is a good network. I'm just not sure if they can compete with an ESPN or a Disney when it comes to shelling out money for Notre Dame. It seems like, I mean, I know this isn't true because everybody has a limit, but it just seems like ESPN and Disney have bottomless, pants pockets that they can just keep pulling out money, and they will find the limit for NBC and be like, well, that's their limit. We're going to go just a little above that, and then NBC's like, we can't match it.
Right, but think of the money that ESPN will make by allowing NBC to still carry Notre Dame's home games when they can now get all of Notre Dame's road games.
That you know what? I didn't even think about that. Everybody talks about Notre Dame being on NBC. If I'm not mistaken, right now it's just their home games, right?
Yeah, it's only their home games. It's not the road games.
Dude, that changes everything. You're right. That means NBC could renegotiate their deal with Notre Dame, keep the home games, and then ESPN gets all their road games. Whoa.
Plus, on the weeks that Notre Dame is on the road, NBC could pick up a couple ACC games.
Yeah.
No, but Jeff, my issue with that,
we could cross over like that, though. I'm not sure about that last part.
Yeah, no, but for me, the issue with that, Jeff, is why not ESPN and ABC just take all of Notre Dame's games, home and road?
Well, because even though ESPN seems like they got unlimited cash flow, they really don't. Yeah. They actually have run into some problems here lately. Disney has lost almost half of their stock price. ESPN,
I'm going to rotate, Tony, I'm going to rotate you out and bring Joey in, but you can hop back on later. Is that cool, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. I'll rotate you out and you can come back in later. All right, buddy?
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. And here comes Joey, who has gotten good internet, although it's not connecting. Joey, where are you, buddy? John Waffle, HGP, thank you for $4.99 Super Chat. Appreciate your support. John Waffle says ESPN has their away games. I'm guessing he's talking about Notre Dame. I don't think that's the case, unless it's a scheduled game that they have on the ACC network. I don't think they cover all of Notre Dame's away games. What we're talking about is NBC would have all of Notre Dame's home games like they do now, and ESPN would have all of Notre Dame's away games. I think that would be the difference. Joey, you might want to try logging out and log back in because you are not connecting, buddy. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
But I will look up tonight. Once we get off of here, I will look up the numbers on if North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, and Florida State leave. what their value is compared to adding Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, and Stanford.
Right, because that would tell us a lot if we knew those numbers. That would tell us if it would balance it out or if it would actually be, above, and that's important right now. Hokie for life. All the options that we've been talking about, what Jeff sent me, the screenshot of possibly ESPN and the ACC maybe looking into renegotiate their TV deal. Notre Dame possibly joining full-time as an ACC member in 2025, but still have their home games broadcasted by NBC. As an ACC fan who sees Notre Dame not a full-time member right now, but they would be then, but still get their own slice of the pie from NBC, would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with Notre Dame getting their slice of ESPN and getting to keep their NBC deal if it means the ACC stays intact?
I'd be fine with that. I just want to stay in the ACC.
See, that's what I'm getting from a lot of ACC fans, because I've heard from fans that aren't in the ACC. I wouldn't do that. That's that's bending over backwards. That's making Notre Dame have more clout than what they actually have. Now, I talk to ACC members. They're like, we don't care as long as they join full time and the ACC makes more money and stays intact. That's what we want. And I think that's good on the ACC fans because they're swallowing their pride and they're realizing Notre Dame's Notre Dame. You're not going to change Notre Dame. If they don't do it in the ACC, they're going to do it to somebody else. So why not, take advantage of the situation and make some money off of Notre Dame? So I agree with Hokie for life on that one.
Yeah, you're better to make a little bit of money off of Notre Dame than not making anything.
That's it. Ding, ding, ding. Comment of the day. It is better to make something off of Notre Dame than nothing off of Notre Dame. I mean, that's economics 101. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yep.
But it's the pride thing that people are, they're letting Notre Dame get away with whatever they want. 2020, Notre Dame joins the ACC for full time, and then the next year, they're back independent. The ACC should have made them, stick it right. Notre Dame is not a dog that you can put on a leash and walk around the park. That's not who they're going to do what they're going to do. Ballard Sports Media, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. I figured I'd join in on this conference realignment talk and everything, and I don't know. It's all kind of confusing to me, obviously. But so catch me up on basically where we're at with with this conference realignment, I guess, because I've only been watching a few minutes and I've heard a little bit about the TV deals.
Yeah. Well, basically everything is the same as of right now. UCLA, USC going to the Big Ten. The Big Ten and the SEC have closed their expansion doors as of 2022. Of course, that'll reopen. The new thing today was what me and Jeff were talking about. The ACC and ESPN are looking to actually renegotiate that TV deal. That's a big thing. And the caveat to all this is Notre Dame. And we've heard for several weeks now, even from Notre Dame YouTube channels, social media platforms, that Notre Dame wants to join the ACC full-time in 2025, which is when their deal with NBC is up. And that all this, when you take all this information and put it together, it actually makes sense because the contract with Notre Dame and NBC is up in 2025. They can renegotiate that. NBC can keep the home games. Notre Dame joins the ACC full-time. They get a piece of that pie. And then, according to what me and Jeff were seeing, they're actually going to renegotiate that TV deal between ESPN and the ACC so they could be making even more money. So an easier road to the playoffs. The ACC stays relevant. The ACC grabs arguably the biggest brand in the nation in Notre Dame. And now it looks like they can make more money through renegotiations, not just the Notre Dame factor, but renegotiations, which tells me that ESPN knows that Notre Dame is serious about joining the ACC. There is no other way that ESPN would even come to the table with the ACC. I know we saw a letter from North Carolina. Oh, we're putting pressure on ESPN and this and that, but this meeting or this looking into renegotiating does not happen unless ESPN knows something about Notre Dame. And it all fits together what we've been hearing. And now they're looking into renegotiating. Bottom line is Notre Dame wants to join the ACC full time. That's the biggest message that I'm getting out of all this. Am I reading into this all cockeyed, Jeff? What do you think?
Now, there has to be something happening because, like you said, ESPN's not going to all of a sudden say, oh, yeah, we cheated you and didn't give you enough money. We're going to give you more money now. No, ESPN either wants to put someone in the league or take someone out of the league. That's the only reason you're going to negotiate. Exactly.
That's why that was really significant whenever you shared that with me, because there's always hearsay. There's always, I think this could happen. I think that could happen, but there has to be substance behind it for it to actually happen. And, if they're coming together and looking to renegotiate, that means Notre Dame is for real interested in joining full time. That's the takeaway that everybody needs to have from this, because there is no renegotiation without Notre Dame saying, hey, we want to be a full-time member in football. So, Ballard, Alabama fan, right alongside Jeff, I'm going to ask you the same question. The first four that the SEC say they're looking into: North Carolina, Florida State, Virginia, and Clemson. Are you good with that, or would you swap anybody out?
I don't know if I'd swap anybody out. Some of those make sense. I think the Florida State one probably makes the most sense because of it being in the state of Florida. As far southeast as you can get the Florida State rivalry to be in conference too. What were the other teams you said? North Carolina, Clemson, and who else?
Virginia. That was the surprising one to me.
I don't see how Virginia fits in there. Clemson. You get Clemson, South Carolina. That's the Southeast. North Carolina. I don't know.
You got to look at this from TV market. I think North Carolina makes sense. Clemson most certainly makes sense. They are hot. They're red hot right now. I know they're down in football, but they have a good TV market. Virginia is the only one that I'm iffy on because I know they have a decent TV market in the state of Virginia. That state is growing also. It's a Commonwealth, which means they spread it around. But I don't know how it compares to like a Miami. And I've heard Greg Sankey say that he's interested in the Miami TV market. I would, and I know Port Knox put it in there. He said he would switch Virginia for Miami. I know that's coming from a Miami fan. I'm a West Virginia fan, and I agree with him. I would swap Virginia for Miami. Christopher Morgan, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He said, that's why I said Notre Dame stays pat for the next 2 to 4 years. And that would fall under 2025. And maybe they don't make their announcement until the end of the 2024 college football season. So that would fall in line. He says, I say Notre Dame stays pat for the next 2 to 4 years until we see how the dust settles. I'm going to come back to that part. Listen, I just don't want us to join SEC and for sure not the Big Ten, talking about Notre Dame. The only part that I don't agree with is until we see how the dust settles. I don't think Notre Dame is going to wait till the dust settles. I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing today. They do, in fact, want to join the ACC, and that's going to cause the value of the ACC to go through the roof. Renegotiations for the table. I don't know how the grant of rights factors into this. I know they would be renegotiating the TV deal, but it would still be an arm and a leg to lead the ACC. Is that correct, Jeff Graham?
No, because what happens is the grant of rights is also tied to the TV deal.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Open up the TV deal, then you open up the grant of rights. And the other thing, I lost it, and I will find it and get it to you tonight. But I found out after your show yesterday that the head lawyer for the SEC has been in Charlotte for the last 4 days.
Oh.
Wow.
Why is he in Charlotte if stuff isn't happening?
Right, exactly. All this is telling us that stuff is happening. Christopher Morgan, kind of clarifying things out with his $2 super chat. He says, I want to join the ACC among other Notre Dame fans. And I've been hearing that, especially over the past couple months. Now, y'all know me. I've been talking about how the ACC interested in Notre Dame full-time. Notre Dame, it's mutual. But the past 2 months, I'm starting to get bombarded by Notre Dame fans saying, hey, we actually want this too. And it seems like Notre Dame is agreeing with its fans, and boom, renegotiation time. So the next, man,
well,
I would say the next
Dame,
week is going to be very interesting in regards to Notre Dame.
The reason why Notre Dame wants the ACC is if they go to the Big Ten, they're not the big fish. If they come to the SEC, they're not the big fish. If they can somehow get Clemson to move on, they're the big fish.
That's true. I would say even if Clemson doesn't move on, they wouldn't be the only big fish, but they would be the biggest big fish. So I think this is a win-win for Notre Dame, whether those teams leave or not. They would be the biggest big fish. But on top of that, if those 4 big brands do decide to move on, then Notre Dame's not just the biggest fish. They are the big fish in the ACC. And we're not talking trash to Notre Dame. We're not talking down. But that is a thing for Notre Dame. They want to be recognized. That's why Notre Dame has been independent for so long. It's not about the money. Now that, recruiting is depending on money, now it's starting to become a money thing, but they still want the title. That is important. Because Notre Dame is arguably the biggest brand in college football right now. So if they can keep that label and make a ton more money, that is a win-win for Notre Dame.
And the other thing they can do is once this grant of rights open up, say they get rid of the 4 teams, they add the 4 teams. Then the next thing you do is you kill the rest of the conferences. You call up West Virginia, you call up Oklahoma State, you call up Baylor. And I would probably pick Utah as the next one to bring. I don't think anybody else in the Big 12 is going to bring what West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Baylor will bring. So I think you'd be better to call Utah at that point. If you do that, the Big 10 is done. The Pac-12 is done. So now you're guaranteeing yourself a spot at the table.
So Hokie for life. I want to jump to you real quick. So let's say that these negotiations go down and the ACC and the SEC actually agree, hey, we're going to let these 4 go to you. We're getting Notre Dame. The ACC is going to make more money, even though we're losing bigger brands. This is going to be a mutual decision if it goes down. So the ACC turns their attention to the Big 12. We're counting Notre Dame. So first 4, Notre Dame takes 1 spot. Who do you want taking the other 3 spots if they turn their eyes to the Big 12?
The biggest one's West Virginia, obviously. I'd love to get that rivalry back. And West Virginia is just a big brand, too. That would help us a lot.
See, that's why I bring other ACC fans on here, because I can talk about West Virginia. But when you talk to Pitt fans, Virginia Tech fans, Louisville fans, any of our old former Big East rivals, they're like, West Virginia, number 1. That's who we want outside of Notre Dame. Go ahead, buddy.
And then Oklahoma State, number 2. That's another big brand.
Yep.
Well, big enough. And thirdly, I'd like Baylor. Baylor's getting really good in football, so they could help us out.
Baylor, I like that. I want to talk about Baylor to the ACC. Think about this, guys. So Baylor is considered one of the lower brand. This is not me trash talking Baylor. It's just how it is, reality. Baylor is considered to be one of the lower brands in the state of Texas, but they've been having tremendous success recently. Big 12 champs last year, right? And that would give the footprint for the ACC in the state of Texas. I think that would be a brilliant move by the ACC. I think it's actually doable for the ACC because they're not trying to get like a Texas or a Texas A&M. You're getting Baylor, who's up and coming. You're picking up Baylor when their stock is high, and you get a footprint in the state of Texas.
And the other thing,
I appreciate you stopping by, buddy, but I'm going to rotate you out and rotate Joey in. But I'm glad you jumped aboard, man, and I'm glad that you actually kind of proved a point as far as not just West Virginia fans that want West Virginia in the ACC. Most, if not all, of our former Big East rivals do, in fact, want West Virginia in the ACC. Those are great rivalries. And if you're going to Blacksburg for the Black Diamond Trophy rivalry game, I will see you there because I will be at that game. All right? And if you're not, just drop by and say hey. All right, buddy?
All right.
All right, man. I'll see you next stream. If we can rotate you back in, you can jump in later. Okay, buddy?
Okay.
All right, man.
The other thing with Baylor is you're also going to replace North Carolina with the basketball. Baylor has the basketball right now.
That's true.
I didn't even think about that. Like basketball is on the back burner because eventually this is going to be about football breaking off. But that's like a cherry on top. That's an extra advantage.
Right.
So that's a great point right there. Great point.
Think about real quick how good the ACC is in basketball already too. Teams, I know Krzyzewski retired, but Duke, Florida State, North Carolina made it to the championship. So Baylor to the ACC, especially like you mentioned in basketball, that'd be something huge.
Hey, Joey, do you know what Anthony Manzano #MOB? He said, GBD, can you read my comment from before?
Yeah, he had typed that about letting Clemson and Florida State go to the SEC and let some other team want to leave. So there it is.
I got you.
Hey, Jeff, I wanted to jump. I was trying to jump on earlier, and we was having a storm, and I couldn't get on. But Jeff, you had mentioned something about letting North Carolina and Miami, Florida State, or whoever wanted to go to the SEC go and leave the ACC, and then ACC picking up Notre Dame and Oregon and a few other schools. What makes you think that Notre Dame would want to join the ACC if them other schools leave?
I think it's because of Notre Dame's ego. Notre Dame is Texas, but can back it up on the field. They have the ego that they feel that if they go anywhere, they can carry the conference.
Joey, think about it like this.
They could.
Think about it like this. Hold on. Think about it like this. So what I'm getting out of this from Jeff, tell me if I'm right or wrong, Jeff. What I'm sensing out of this is an overall gain for ESPN. So 4 teams from the ACC go to the SEC. That stays ESPN. And then they grab Notre Dame and some teams out of the Big 12. So even though the ACC lost to the SEC, it's staying in the ESPN family, and they're going out and getting extra members for the ACC. So it's almost like a step up for the big brands. Hey, you get to move on, and then we get to bring these other big brands into the ACC. That's a win-win for ESPN. You're keeping it in the family, basically.
Especially with Notre Dame. You're not losing to Fox. Notre Dame is the only one on the table right now that Fox and ESPN really are fighting over besides North Carolina.
Right. I would agree on that. And that's why the Big Ten really, really pursued Notre Dame with a vengeance. And they still want Notre Dame. And Notre Dame said no. And honestly, it surprised me because I thought, man, that's some big money. There's no way. Well, there goes Notre Dame to the ACC. That's out the window. They're going to take that deal. But there were some things that we didn't realize, even though it's been told and I've been talking about it. It's just the way it came together. We didn't see the entire package.
Right.
We only see what's right in front of us. We don't see, what's happening 3 months from now or 6 months from now. We only see what's right in front of us. And so we didn't realize that, well, here's how it's going to happen. Notre Dame, yes, they will want to join the ACC in 2025. How? Well, they let ESPN know, hey, we want to join full time, but we got to renegotiate a TV deal. That is not enough money for us. So if you want us to join full time in football, got to renegotiate. From what I'm hearing, that's what they're doing. Notre Dame wants to be a part of the ACC, so I'm actually excited about that because I've been talking about it for a while, and I've gotten dogged about it. And then things happen, and I'm like, well, I guess it's not happening. I always admit when I'm wrong, too.
Just last night, Lou was in here saying that there's no way nobody's leaving the ACC, nobody's coming into the ACC. It's all over. They got this grant of rights, and now we get the news that they're renegotiating. There's going to be a shakeup in the ACC. Whether they're going to add somebody, add 3 or 4 teams, get rid of 3 or 4 teams, whatever's going to happen, something's going to happen. They're renegotiating this. So.
Well, that's why if you'll notice whenever I put out a video, I don't put a stamp on it. I'm not like, last year when Oklahoma and Texas went to the SEC, I did make a video and I did that. That mistake learned from that mistake. Never again. The videos that I do now, whenever I do conference realignment, I don't stamp it and say, bucket, it's happening no matter what, get over it. What I do is I say, this is what I'm hearing from sources. Whenever I say sources, that could be, a news outlet, one of my good friends, an assistant coach that I know, which I still can't give his name out, but I'm telling you, I know some people. But that's what I say whenever I say sources, stuff that I'm hearing from different people. And then I give my opinion, and then we'll see how it fits into reality. And then we'll see if there's other things that are coming together that I didn't see. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Today, I was not aware that ESPN was interested in renegotiating TV deal with ACC. That didn't even enter my head. So that makes it seem like, well, the ACC adding teams or losing teams is unlikely. But by renegotiating, both of those things are possible. They can let those brands go to the SEC. That stays in the ESPN family. And they can go out and hurt Fox.
Right.
Make no mistake about it. ESPN wants to hurt Fox. They aren't buddies. They're competitors. So they keep the big brands in the family. They're just moving them from one conference to the other, and then they hurt their competitor.
And thank for Notre Dame. Right now, the ACC was $36.4 million is what they gave out. I know the guy earlier said 50 million. No, it's 36.4.
That's why I was like, it's more around 39, but 36, yeah. But still, that's a lot.
So let's say that ESPN don't really help the ACC that much, but they get them to, let's say, 45 million, okay? Which wouldn't be that hard to do if you bring those four in. But if you still give Notre Dame that 45 million and say, you know what, we'll give you the 15 million that you get, and it'll probably go up to 20 million at least from NBC. Now they're at 65 million, which wouldn't be that far behind the SEC and the Big
And that's what they're wanting. And they were saying 60, 70%. That would be even higher. Kenneth Hill, I see your comment. He says, yeah, where's Uncle Lou now? Buddy, Uncle Lou is like Beetlejuice. You say his name 3 times and he's going to pop up. So he might pop up any second just because I think that was the 3rd or 4th time somebody said his name. So heads up, people.
And,
he might be incoming soon.
Can you repost that link, TBD? Jeff Webster's trying to come in, but he says the link ain't working.
All right, hold on.
Before I do that, I'll get out of here and make room for other people. I got some things I got to do. I just wanted to hop on.
Okay, buddy.
And let you know that.
I got it.
Appreciate you coming on, Jeff. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, man. Have a great day.
You too, man.
I was
so
able to get it. I got
you're
it.
posting the link?
Yeah, I got it.
Right, you got it. All right. Christopher Morgan, appreciate your $10 super chat. He says, we will see September 3rd, plus Clemson, plus USC, who the big fish are. Question, how many big games a year does Alabama play besides Auburn, plus Georgia, / LSU, / OSU, besides normal Big Ten? So he's saying, how many big games does Alabama play besides Auburn, Georgia, LSU? Well, pretty much every game, because everybody, that's a big game for anybody that plays Alabama. And then the second part of the comment, Ohio State, besides normal Big Ten, got spanked by Oregon, Michigan. Man, I didn't even think about that. Think about that, Joey. They got spanked not just by
I know it.
Oregon, but they also got, I wouldn't say spanked, but they got beat in their home stadium by Oregon. And then they did get spanked by Michigan at the end of the year. That's a great comment. I didn't even think about that.
Jeff Webster just popped in the house to educate us like Uncle Lou did yesterday.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jeff. J-Dub.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you're having a good day.
Pretty good.
Hi, Jeff.
Pretty good. Can't complain.
I just have to say, hello, wake up, knock, knock, bonk on head, ACC homers, understand this. Get this through your head. Listen very carefully. Notre Dame is not coming to the ACC. Let me say that again. Notre Dame is not coming to the ACC. Forget it. Notre Dame is not going to sit back and let Presbyterian Wake Forest, Methodist Duke, and the Southern Baptist schools have conference decisions over them when they can deal with their with which they don't want to do. They don't want to do this either in the Big Ten, but they're culturally and socially much more entwined with the Big Ten than the ACC. The ACC.
I would agree with that last part.
Jeff, hear me out here. How are they going to get out of the contract with the ACC that says they're in there to 2036?
Yeah, I Notre Dame for I posted it in the chat. I think 70-30 Notre Dame just stays independent and says, you know what, the hell with all of you. We're the one school that can do this. We're the one school that can get away with this. Now, if I'm one of these other schools, I don't care who I am, if I'm West Virginia, if I'm Oregon State, if I'm USC, if I'm Georgia, and Notre Dame tries to pull this independent stunt when the playoffs get reorganized after 2025, I try to get the other conferences in a room together and say, let's freeze them out.
Hey, hold on, J-Dub. Hold on. I'm going to rotate Christian out. You can rotate back in later. But Hurricane T2Y popped up. I want to give him a chance as well.
All right.
Carry on, J-Dub. Thanks for stopping by, Ballard.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can see the other conferences getting together when the playoffs are redesigned. If Notre Dame has not joined a conference, and just tell Notre Dame, you know what? You made your bed. Now you're going to lay in it. We're not letting a non-conference team into our playoffs. Whether they're champion or at large, they must be a conference team to get in our playoffs. And just try to freeze out Notre Dame. I could see that coming.
T2Y, I see you. You had a bit of an echo, or maybe that might be you, J-Dub.
No, it's T2Y. Hey, I wanted to address this one comment right here. To BBFM, is there you talking to any other conference right now? And if so, radio silence. They actually, Gordon Gee was asked that, president of Western University, and he said they're in talks with everybody. So that answers that question. Yes, they're talking to everybody.
Bill Lent, check this out. Hold on. Bill Lent with the $4.99 super chat says Memphis and Navy to the ACC live in Syracuse area and it's being discussed. That would make sense only if that is a package with Notre Dame and Stanford. I know that's out of left field and it sounds weird, but that's halfway believable. If you throw in the Notre Dame factor, and if they're like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to renegotiate, but we need Stanford and Navy, in with us. I'm not sure about Memphis, but Memphis is renovating their football stadium. So, I can't discount anything, to be honest with you. I'm not going to discount anything.
I think
it's being discussed in the Syracuse area.
Let me say this quick because I'm outside, I'm in the field. But Jeff Webster, listen, we're not living in the 1980s anymore, my guy.
No, he stole my line.
The ACC has Notre Dame in every other sport. Them coming into the ACC with a better negotiated contract would make absolutely sense, sir. So all you Alabama fans, don't get scared now. You see what's going on the recruiting trail, how Miami is kicking Nick Saban in his ass right now? You seen that?
You see that? I wish I had more battery on my phone because of all the flaming retards that I run across in the comment section, you're right up at the top of the list. Let's just see.
No, we don't do that, man. We don't do that.
No. It's cool. It's cool. I like that.
No, he's not going to take a shot like that and use that word and risk my channel get taken down.
Oh, okay.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
No, I
encourage trash talk. When you start saying stuff that could get my channel and this video taken down, I shut you down. Sorry. It's nothing personal. Yeah. I'm just not risking. I'm not risking this channel. But T2Y, man, you stole my line, man. I was literally going to come back with you.
Golden Blue? I'm used to the you're delusional or you're this kind of fan. because I got that pride in my team. But it's all good, man.
Well, no,
Alabama
that part's
fans,
fine. It's whenever he said retard. Like that's you can't. That's
So,
that's one of those words
Hurricane
that-
TTY. While I got you on here, Hurricane TTY, let me ask you a question. So, Miami's tearing it up out there on the recruiting field. Do you think that it is a lot to do with Jamil Adai? I think he's doing a good job for you guys. Do you feel the same way?
I think he contributes, but I think the momentum is coming from Mario. Mario is a national recruiter before we even had Jamil Adai.
Yeah,
we
I
saw
would
what he
agree
went
with
out
that, but I
there.
think Adai adds another dimension to Miami, because if you look at Adai and where he's gone, he immediately brings the defense, especially that secondary, into elite status. And yes, I'm high on Mario Cristobal, but I think something that's not being talked about for Miami and why I'm so high on Miami is Jamil Adai and his effect on that secondary. He makes it almost elite immediately.
Yeah, like I said, I like what he's doing, but I mean, he contributes to the success that we have. But when you got a guy like Mario that's, been doing this for years now, recruiter of the year at one point, it's and he's in Miami. Plus he has the administration backing him up. The money is unlimited. Billionaires are literally everywhere.
Yeah,
NIL
exactly.
deals are turning up. You know that Golden Blue dude.
And that's why Sankey said what he said. Well, I don't know if there's any audio of this, but I saw a clip on the internet that Sankey said he likes the Miami TV market, and you just hit on that right there for the SEC.
So the Pac-12
see what the SEC what the SEC fans don't realize is, hey, your time is up. The playing field is level now.
I wouldn't say their time is up, but what I would say is the time for teams that are in the ACC that haven't had a chance, that are being moved into the SEC, maybe now they get a chance to be in the spotlight. But, it's a big change from the ACC to the SEC. So, if teams do go from the ACC to the SEC, there will be an adjustment time. I'm not saying they're going to be, bottom of the barrel and they're going to have terrible seasons, but I'm not sure if they can rise to the top in year one or year two. It might take some time, but they can get part of the spotlight is what I'm trying to say.
No, the reason I say that is because if you look at the recruiting for the SEC, most of them come into the state of Florida and take the best talent and then use them to kick our ass. Well, with Mario here, we're going to get our handful, and then after we get our handful, then you guys come get the rest that Florida State and Florida don't want. So a guy like Nick Saban is not going to just be able to fly a helicopter in here and impress a kid anymore, or Billy Napier is not going to put a kid take pictures in a Lamborghini. Mario's telling those kids, hey, you want to take pictures in somebody's Lamborghini, or you want to come down here and work and buy your own? It's a difference.
I like it, man. And that does make sense. Tim, the Pac-12 refugee. So we're going to get a Pac-12 perspective. Most people think that the Pac-12 is basically dying. I know they're trying to speed up TV negotiations because they're trying to show that they have some value left. I'm hearing that, some teams might go to the Big 12. The remaining might either have to merge with the Mountain West or straight up join with the Mountain West. Do you see any scenario at all where they can avoid not one more team gets picked off from the Pac-12? Is there any scenario that they can avoid that? Not even one.
Let me say this before I get out of here, because I got to get back to work. But
okay, buddy. Notre
Dame, come on down to the ACC. West Virginia, come on right on down with them. Go Canes. Go Golden Blue, dude. I'm out.
All right, buddy.
Take care, Hurricane TTY.
Yeah, we need to get that Sunday show going, man. That was always fun. But yeah, is there any scenario on planet Earth that the Pac-12 doesn't lose one more member?
Yeah, there's plenty, actually. I mean, there's a lot of value. Everyone's cracking on. You got to remember you still have Utah, and you have Oregon, and you have UW. I mean, one thing everyone forgets about, it's crazy. I was talking to Mark Rogers last night about this. You guys got to remember, just like a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, Washington was in the Rose Bowl. The year before that, they were in the playoffs. You know, they had Peterson. Everyone's got to remember this. You guys out there that have a good coach, I remember this because we lost Pete Carroll and that spiraled. You guys are always one coach away, one bad hire away from being up here down to here. When UW had Peterson, I mean, they were killing it. They were a top solid team. Then one bad hire, they got Jimmy Lake, great defensive coordinator. But I'm telling you, Oklahoma, I'm telling you this, Oregon, great coordinators don't always make great head coaches. And Jimmy Lake is your proven example of that right there. I mean, go all the way around.
You know, now that I said that, on top of that, a year ago, whenever Texas and Oklahoma left for the SEC, what were everybody saying about the Big 12? They're dead. There's no coming back from this. So putting that into perspective, and then what you just said, yeah, there are some ways for the Pac-12 to stay relevant and stay a power conference and not lose any members. But what do they have to do to accomplish that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot out there right now that would bring. See, here's the issue, and I'm not gonna make any friends on this channel, although I love all you guys. But watching you, Golden Blue Dude, forever, Joey freaking Foster, dude, you're my favorite. But I'm gonna say this because I love you. Because I'm gonna keep it real with you guys.
All right.
I think you brought in some really good teams with lots of potential, but adding a bunch of G5 schools and then calling yourselves a P5 school might be a fool's errand. Not because they're not great programs, not because they're not great schools. I'm talking revenue. USC had a choice. USC is one of the blue bloods, but USC was going down the USS Pac-12. And part of the fault is with the Pac-12, and part of the fault is with USC and its leadership. Because, you know, the ACC has been kept afloat by great leadership that's now gone at Clemson, right? And Clemson being the flagship of the ACC, because let's face it, besides Clemson and maybe Florida State in the very first playoff, what has the ACC done at the highest level of football? And right or wrong, that's how that's a new metric. That's how these conferences are defined. What have you done in the playoffs? Then you move over to the Big 12. Let's be fair. Outside of OU, what has the Big 12 done at the highest level of football? Great programs, great traditions, great fans, lots of wins. But what have they done at the top level? Pac-12, same thing. Great teams, but unfortunately, Oregon and Washington just didn't have that gravitas to pull, and go to the next level. Oregon has a win. I mean, if you really want to be honest, Pac-12 has one win in the playoffs. That's and two teams, but inconsistent. But outside of OU, you guys, what has the Big 12 done? Let's be legit. Right. You're cracking on the Pac-12. It's been dog water. USC's been trash.
Same thing with the ACC as well. Well, I mean, even last year, the first time in like 6 years, Clemson doesn't win the ACC. What happens? They don't make it. And to your point earlier, I actually made a video on if the Big 12 keeps losing Power 5 members to other conferences and they keep adding Group of 5 members, at some point, when do you say, well, this is not a Power 5 conference anymore because you're losing your Power 5 members and you're only adding Group of 5 members? So I 100% agree with that. There is some point where this has to be it. No more Group of 5s. If you want to keep that Power 5 status, and that's no offense to any Group of 5 fan bases, maybe they can land, maybe Memphis can land in the ACC or whatever, Boise State in the Big 10. I'm doubtful, but it's not looking good for Boise State joining the Big 12 now, because now we have the Big 12 has their eyes set on maybe Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, whereas in 3 months ago, Boise State was actually in a really good position because they announced that they were pouring in a ton of money into their facilities. And, they're at the top when it comes to Group of 5 teams with Memphis, but that's only a Group of 5 teams. When you throw in fellow Power 5 members, you're not on top anymore. Now you're at the bottom. So Boise State might be in trouble as far as getting accepted into a Power 5 conference now.
I have a question for Pac-12, real quick, GBD. As a Pac-12 fan, sports in general, not just USC, do you think it would make what Texas teams, if you guys add someone from that conference, makes the most sense? Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, in terms of how closer to the
SMU. I'll answer that.
Yeah, that would be good. But if you take away so if you said we just get the pick, if I were the Pac-12 and I just got to pick whoever I wanted, for the recruiting and the TV market, I mean, it's kind of hard not to look at Houston. I mean, just from recruiting alone, but you can't go wrong with any, Texas football. Do you know what I mean? Except for Texas, right? But I mean, besides that, you can't go wrong, right?
I can't get on the bandwagon of Arizona and Arizona State coming to the Big 12. I can't get on that bandwagon.
Me too.
The reason why, just that funneling, that right there to California. I mean, because all their alumni are right there in the Los Angeles area. All their students come from there. They go to school in Arizona. They go right back to California to work. I just don't see that pipeline ending between Arizona and California. I don't think, unless the Pac-12 dissolves, I don't see Arizona and Arizona State leaving the Pac-12. On the same sense, if Pac-12 is going to stay, I think they're going to have to pick up San Diego State and SMU.
Yeah. I made a video before all conference realignment became hot. It was just an idea. I liked it, so I did it. So it's a video that's probably around 2 years old before all this happened. What I did was, in a hypothetical situation, I divided up the country into 4 sections and then said, this Pac-12, Big 12, ACC, SEC, and Big 10. And the reason I'm bringing that up is in that scenario, and I've actually said it in multiple videos, I said the Pac-12 needs to get Texas Tech. So whenever that question was presented to me, just now, Tony asking Tim, Pac-12 refugee out of the state of Texas, if you had your choice, I would go to Texas Tech and then a Houston with Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech isn't, quote, the sexy pick or anything like that. Number one, it makes more sense geographically. Number two, Texas Tech has the number 2 fan base in the new Big 12 in fan size, right behind West Virginia. So it adds a tremendous fan base to the Pac-12. And if you couple in Houston, then you're covering a good fan base and a good recruiting market and a TV market in Houston. So I think Houston with Texas Tech together would be a perfect scenario for the Pac-12. You'd get the fan base in Texas Tech, and then you'd get the TV market with Houston. That's a good 1-2, I think, for the Pac-12 if they had a shot at teams in Texas, not counting.
How about this, Tim? How about bringing Baylor from Waco, the DFW area, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco?
Yeah, no, I mean, that would, again, Baylor's with Aranda too. I mean, Aranda's a California guy, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure, but I think he is from California.
I'll address that too.
He's from San
Francisco. I don't think that'll happen just simply because of the basketball. They're in the best basketball conference, bar none. The Big 12 is the best basketball conference out there. I don't think Baylor would jump ship from that, in my opinion.
Hey,
makes sense.
Joey, with USC and UCLA going to the Big 10, that does swing things a little bit as well as far as basketball is concerned. But
how long do you think? Talking about USC and UCLA, how long do you think it'll take for them to adjust to this brutal travel? I mean, this is West Virginia fans. We know, how bad travel can get, but this is going to be 10 times worse. And I talked about this earlier, how it's not going to really affect the already Big Ten members. They'll have to fly out there once a year at the most. But for UCLA and USC, you're looking at 3, 4, maybe 5 times a year. I mean, that's not going to be, first year, this is fine, we're used to this. I mean, how long is that going to take for them to adjust to that? And can they succeed in the Big Ten?
I think it all comes down to, and I'm sure all this was negotiated, it's just going to come down how it's going to look. I have a hard time, and I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, thinking that USC went into this deal knowing that they're going to go back east 8 times a year. Do you know what I mean? Or Midwest.
Right.
But for me,
that's a good point.
You know, I think there might be. I just think that they're not done expanding. Is what I'm saying. I think there's going to be some West Coast teams put in. I'm looking at pods, probably like 4 teams. They're going to either add the Pacific Northwest schools, or they're going to add Stanford and Notre Dame. That's what I've heard.
I would agree with that. And
both
even before that, before they do that, so your first away game every other year is between each other. UCLA, USC. That's easy. They're in the same town, same city. So that can take up 1 away game. You could throw, a Nebraska in there, a Minnesota, a Wisconsin, the western section of the Big Ten, and then rotate the East teams 1 at a time, home and away Michigan, home and away Ohio State, home and away Michigan State, home and away Penn State, like that. That way you're only playing 1 East team on the road once every other year.
How about Utah?
How
about Utah to the Big Ten?
I just think Salt Lake City is an amazing city. The Utah fans are probably up there with Oregon and Washington as the most rabid and badass fans in the Pac-12. But they're just not going to move the needle. I mean, you're asking teams like Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, with these 100,000 person palaces that they got with millions and millions and millions of revenue, to offer it to a great school, a great team, a great fan base in Utah. But what's Utah going to bring to the conference? Maybe 20, 25 million, and you're going to give them 70 to 100 million? I just don't think they're going to do it.
And all due respect to Utah fans, but I mean, Utah's only been a power university for, a little over a decade now. I mean, it's not like they're an established Power 5 team that's been, in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or whatever for years and years and years. That's not me saying it's a bad team. It's a bad fan base. They're a great fan base, but they're not an Ohio State. They're not a Michigan. They're not a USC. They're not a Oregon. They're not a UCLA. They're just not. We fall, West Virginia, we fall into the same category. We're not a Michigan. We're not an Ohio State. We're not a Texas. We don't move the needle like that. So you'd have to weigh the pros and the cons, and would it be worth using up a spot and stretching out west to pick up Utah? And in this moment in time, I would say no. In the future, maybe when things get figured out, but big moves are being made right now. Not mediocre moves, not next level moves. The biggest moves are being made right now. Oregon and Washington will be picked up before Utah.
There's a comment. There's a comment in the comment section that basically, I'm not going to highlight it, but it basically says that West Virginia is a group of 5, and they're talking about Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Texas Tech, all of them getting poached, and West Virginia being back. They got to realize, and I know a lot of people don't understand this, but the biggest fan base in the Big 12 is West Virginia University right now. There's no bigger fan base. And so if conference realignment is all about money, new Big 12, if conference realignment is going to be all about money and all about who you want to raise media value, West Virginia is going to be next picked off in the Big 12. There's no doubt about that.
I would say arguably with Oklahoma State. I think it's between Oklahoma State and West Virginia.
You guys think OK State would follow Oklahoma to the SEC?
Oh yeah, and they're next in line. Like, I've heard that they're actually talking to the SEC. I don't know. I've heard that the SEC has closed expansion doors, and so has the Big Ten for 2022.
That's
but
BS.
The next step will be Oklahoma State, possibly West Virginia, depending on how this ACC.
Yeah, for me, I don't believe anything these commissioners say.
That's true.
Honestly, Sankey is a snake in the grass. You really believe anything he says? Be honest with yourself. Do you believe anything Sankey says to him?
John Waffle, H2P, $1.99 super chat's got to get his troll in. Time for a troll comment. WU is oversized Mac school. That is laughable, sir. Get that nonsense out of here. West Virginia is not Ohio State. We're not Michigan. We're not Notre Dame. We're not the biggest brands, but we are top 15 all time in wins. We have a bigger fan base by the numbers over Pitt, West Virginia carries the city of Pittsburgh over the University of Pitt. Penn State 1, West Virginia 2, and Pitt 3. So, dude, if you classify West Virginia as an oversized MAC school, what is Pitt? Oh, yeah, they are ACC champs. Yes, I forgot about that. But besides that, as far as overall success, hey, since I've been born, you know what the record in the Backyard Brawl is? 18-9 in favor for West Virginia with 2 ties. We've doubled you up, bro. We have doubled you up. So, yeah, make some sense when you're going to trash talk. At least, at least make some sense. Maxwell, come on.
Yeah, and Tim, for me, I see this happening before. I see Oregon, Stanford, and Washington following Notre Dame with West Virginia to the ACC over the Big Ten, to be honest.
Okay, so let me. That's why I called in to begin with. Okay, look, this is how I'm looking at it. Unless the ACC somehow gets a completely different media package, right? You're telling me that a team like Notre Dame is going to go to the ACC and make less than half of what they'd be making if they were in the Big Ten? Just hold that thought first. Here's the second thought. Who are Notre Dame's rivals? If they entered the Big Ten, all of a sudden they're playing Purdue, they're playing Michigan State, they're playing USC, and they're going to be playing, like always, once in a long while, off and on, Michigan. So instantly, and plus, where is? I mean, Notre Dame is dead set in the very middle of the Big Ten geographically. It's it's a stone's throw away from Purdue, a stone's throw away from Michigan State, and Northwestern. It's just right there in the middle of everything. And Indiana, it's right there in the middle of everything. It makes complete sense historically, culturally, and financially for them to join the Big 12. The big question is, and again, I've never had a really good answer. Maybe Joey or someone here can help me out. What is their contractual obligation to the ACC? Because I heard a long time ago that they cannot join another conference besides the ACC until when?
2036. And those were all awesome comments, and I agree. Here's the caveat to that. How you ended that. They are contractually obligated to join the ACC if they join a conference before 2036. But the biggest thing that kind of brings everything into focus is what we found out earlier. ESPN and the ACC are looking to come to the table, and I'm actually going to do a video on this after I'm done with this live show. It's big news. A lot of outlets are talking about it right now. A lot. I've seen 3 different big outlets talking about it. So the ACC and ESPN are coming to the table to renegotiate their TV deal. That is massive news. And what people are thinking is going to happen is those 4 brands that we talked about, North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson, and Virginia, going to the SEC, right? ESPN has a deal with SEC, ACC. That stays in the family. So even though the ACC loses those brands, it still stays with ESPN. And then ESPN is bringing in Notre Dame to join full-time. NBC still carrying Notre Dame's home games, but ESPN will get their away games because they will be a full-time member of the ACC. And they can hurt their competitor in the Big 12 by grabbing some big brands if they can renegotiate the TV deal and make it much higher. Because I had some ACC fan base members earlier on the show, and everyone that I've talked to, they love being in the ACC. They just don't love the money. So if they can renegotiate that and satisfy the teams not named Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, Virginia in the ACC, bring in Notre Dame and pick off from the Big 12, that's what I'm hearing could be the next step because of the report being reported about the ACC and the SEC actually seriously looking into renegotiating, because that was the thorn in my side. That was the thing that kept tripping me up. We can't get past that TV deal. It's a horrible TV deal. The grant of rights, ironclad. Well, if ESPN and the ACC, come to the table and renegotiate, and that breaks the gore, so that allows the SEC to pick up the 4 teams and the ACC to get a better TV deal and pick up members from the Big 12. So if that happens, that would literally change the competition in TV, and it could be a big time blow for the Big 12, big time. Let me get to the super chat real quick, and then I'll let y'all rebuttal. Christopher Morgan, $20 super chat, man, supporting the show like a champ today. Appreciate you, bud. He says, gotta say, GB, with you just saving me like $20 responding to that idiot, you just kicked for just being stupid. I was ready to go toe to toe. Much respect. Love your content. Keeping it real and civil. Yes. And like I've said, I encourage trash talk, but if you say a word that puts my channel and this video at risk of being taken down, I am going to mute you. Trash talk, so, no problem. I encourage it, but don't say words that's going to jeopardize the channel. And real quick, Bill Lent, $1.99 super chat. Syracuse to the Big Ten or the SEC, which is more likely? Real quickly, I would say the Big Ten just because of AAU status and culture and all that stuff. Still don't think that would happen, though.
Yeah.
So I want to respond to Elliot Cruz. He made a comment that Notre Dame's buyout's $100 million. That's way low. That's not right. It's more like $550 million, closer to that range.
You got to add it up year by year.
Yeah, it's like $40 million a year for 14 years. So that's $570 million.
Yeah, I thought
it's ridiculous.
I thought Larry Scott was the biggest idiot of all of the commissioners, but whoever the hell signed that ACC deal to get the ACC network and to cripple that conference for the next 14 years should be tarred and feathered, because I think that's the one thing holding the ACC back. It's got a lot of great programs. Again, I've always been, I just probably no one's gonna like this, but I've secretly always kind of liked Miami, except for the fact that the Paul Deeb, that's a whole different story about the NCAA. I don't want to do that one, but I mean, I've always just liked they're just Miami in general. But you have to realize that TV deal is going to just absolutely neuter the conference, because this is all about money. And the reason why Notre Dame's just sitting pretty is because they can. They're not going to join the ACC and take that ACC money. They're going to float, and what they're probably going to do is they're going to wait and probably somehow, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road, when that number gets a little bit smaller, when that break-even point to join the Big Ten gets a little more sweeter, and maybe when they get an opportunity to negotiate a much lower buyout. Someone was saying something about the fact that one of the programs, I don't know if it was Maryland or someone, when they had their buyout, they paid 60% of the buyout. They worked out some kind of buyout. I heard it yesterday.
Yes, set a precedent. Yes, that is correct.
So that's all this is going to be. I think I just blue and gold dude. I just don't, or gold and blue dude. I always do that.
It happens a lot.
I got Michigan in my head. When you have that kind of a situation that's going to handcuff Notre Dame like that from joining the ACC, because there's a lot of ACC things that, just like the Big Ten, there's a lot of great academics in the ACC, and I can see Notre Dame aligning itself with that. But just that TV contract is what's holding. Really, in a way, it's actually helping the Big 12. You know what I mean? Because if they didn't have that grant of rights issue, I could see the ACC just being the next kind of the third major conference that would be plucking apart the West Virginia teams and the Pac-12. But then again, depending on what the Pac-12 looks like as far as their media, once USC and UCLA came out, they're making peanuts. Maybe the ACC money doesn't look that bad to some of those Pac-12 schools anymore. So
this is going to come down to satisfying the teams not named North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Virginia, because they will swap them out. This is about satisfying the teams that are not those 4 teams that stay in the ACC, satisfying them, and it being enough to entice other teams from the Big 12, including, Notre Dame not from the Big 12, but including Notre Dame and some teams from the Big 12, because ESPN would rather the ACC exist than the Big 12 exists, because they have the TV media deals for the ACC. Fox has the TV media deals for the Big 12. So if you have to choose, I guess we'll have to put the Big 12 out of business, or try to, or at least hurt Fox, because we can swap some teams down from the ACC to the SEC, and then we can go out and hurt Fox and the Big 12 if we can get a decent TV deal.
I want your thoughts, Josh. I want your thoughts, GBD and Tim. This is how I see it playing out. I see like you said, Virginia, North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State going to the ACC, SEC, my mistake, and then the SEC calling Notre Dame, West Virginia, Baylor, and bringing those West Coast teams over, Washington, Stanford, and Oregon over to the ACC as well. Bringing those 6 teams, replace. How about that? What's your opinion, Tim, on that? Bringing Notre Dame, the West Coast teams, and West Virginia and Baylor.
Well, Miami to Seattle is one hell of a flight. That's why I'm looking at USC maybe going to Rutgers, and maybe going to Maryland. That's gonna be a hell of a haul. But look at all those teams on the East Coast for that you're looking at, for a team like Washington or Oregon to go to. I mean, any conference that picks up, again, they keep saying that Oregon makes this much or Washington makes that much. You're talking about 2 storied programs that have rabid fan bases that have a commitment to football. They should be on the priority list for a lot of people. I just think that might be a bridge too far, though, man, for them to travel that far. I like your idea with Baylor, West Virginia. I mean, West Virginia obviously makes sense.
How about
Baylor would be huge. Grab a couple of, again, like Houston. Now, could they? Now, I don't know this. You guys know Joey. Could you guys? Because I would imagine if you add like 4 more teams, you could renegotiate your rights, correct? As far as market. And so you bring in a Houston market, like someone said. You bring in Baylor. You bring in West Virginia. Right there is a lot of TVs. Yep. I think at that point, the ACC would be able to say, "Hey, look, we'll take this to court, but we need to get paid more than this." I know the contract's that. I don't know how that all works, though. I know that ESPN.
You forgot Stanford. How about Stanford?
Again, it's just that distance thing. But I mean, it's kind of hypocritical for me in Southern California to say that. But
guys,
Stanford,
I'm about to wrap up. So, Tony, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to rotate you out, and then I'll let Joey get his last word in, and then I'll close it with Tim. Is that cool, guys?
Tony, I just want to respond to what Tony was saying and what he was asking, and what Tim was saying too. It's very true. I mean, if you think about it, Miami, if they have a noon kickoff on the East Coast with Oregon or Stanford or somebody, and they got to fly out there, that's a 9 a.m. kickoff out there. And if it's a 9 p.m. kickoff, then look how late they're getting back to Miami, Monday afternoon.
And a lot of people say that it's much tougher for West Coast teams to travel east and play than it is for East Coast teams to travel west and play because you're losing time instead of gaining time.
I think it hurts both ways. I really do. I think it hurts both ways. I think, these players, they're students too, and that they're students first. And they've got assignments they've got to take care of. They got to take care of classwork, number one. Yeah. And when you're flying them coast to coast to play, and it's not just football, it's baseball, it's track and field, it's soccer, it's there's everything else. There is just no legitimate reason to fly the University of Miami to Oregon to play over a weekend, to fly them back so they can be all red-eyed and everything in class, when that's what they're going to school for, is to learn. So
I would agree, Joey. I'm going to let you go, and we're going to wrap this up. Going on 2 hours doesn't feel like it, and I didn't plan on going that long, and my bladder is calling me. So, we got to wrap
it. You're not Mark Rogers. Hey, you're not Mark Rogers. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not. Mark Rogers. I don't pee in a bottle. I don't pee in a bottle.
Let me do 2 things. We'll say really quickly. When it comes to these flights, remember they're not flying. They're not going through TSA. These are chartered flights. They get on a bus. They walk through. They get around. And so really all you're talking about is it's about a 3-hour flight to Seattle. It's probably about a 4 or 5 hour flight to the Midwest. You're talking 2 more hours, these kids on their TikTok. That's really all you're looking at, So the big thing is getting to and from. That doesn't change. It's a flight time, a couple more hours flight time, and that's not a big deal. School, the pandemic has shown you that they're going to do a lot of distance learning. I can see a model where you're looking at 2-3 weeks on the road where the kids are doing distance learning during those weeks. And again, it's only going to be for a month or 2 out of the entire academic year will they be doing that. So academics won't be a major issue. And the third part, Joe, you brought up the 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock kickoff, or the 7:30 to 10:30 kickoff times. I think that all the games that feature East and West will be 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock kicks. where it's not going to affect that's not going to affect any student's biological clock. But
Yeah,
cool.
I think that will be figured out. I agree with that. The only thing that I would add on to what you just said, as far as, flight not being that big of a deal, agree on an individual basis. But as travel piles up and you got to keep making those cross country trips, I think by the end of the year it could affect you mentally and physically. But flight for flight one time. Teams schedule cross country all the time. That one long away game. Notre Dame to USC. I mean, their rival. They do it all the time. That's one. That's fine. It's whenever you start piling it on. I'm looking to see how USC and UCLA respond by that third or fourth away game. That's what I'll be looking for.
Yeah, and I think they're going to group those together. You're not going to have back, forth. It'll be like you'll fly out, you'll play 2 or 3 away games, and then come back. It's almost like professional sports. You just have it to where you're on the road for 3 games and you come back for your homestand. I think that's probably how they should address it.
Yeah, I would say they'll probably if it's 4, I would say 2 and 2 if it's cross country. If they can group 3 together, they'll try to do it. But at minimum, you could do, chunk them 2 at a time, at least knock two out of the way at the same time. So that's what West Virginia has done for the most part. But here recently, the Big 12 has been screwing us. We've been going back and forth I'm not liking it. So if they start doing that, USC, UCLA, good luck, because that's going to be brutal.
Wait for 2023 Pac-12 schedule for the Trojans. I can't imagine what they're going to throw at us now. It should be pretty interesting. But all right, thanks a lot for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Hey, tell everybody about your platform real quick.
I don't have one.
My
platform is I jump on everybody's show and talk way too much. That's my platform.
Dude, you had just proven that you should have a platform, man. Get it done.
I got 3 kids and I'm a school teacher. I got no time, bro.
Hey, I got 4 kids. I'm not a school teacher, but I got 4 kids. It can be done. It can be done.
Right on. Well, listen,
you got our backing, man.
I'm a co-star. I'll see you guys later.
All right, bud. See you. I had a great time. Hopefully you had a great time. Last super chat, if somebody else doesn't do it right before I leave. Bill Lint, $9.99 super chat. Appreciate the support. How does this affect basketball powerhouses like Duke, Kansas? Seems like this football is burying football. Seems like this football. I'm guessing you meant basketball. Seems like this football is burying basketball. What I see right now, yes, it's going to hurt. But the thinking is eventually these super conferences are going to be, 24 deep, maybe even more. And they'll probably pot it up. So it's not going to hurt as bad. And teams that don't make the cut, let's say Kansas doesn't stay in the SEC, doesn't get picked up by the Big Ten or the SEC. For basketball, that doesn't matter. This will be a football-only thing. Think about Notre Dame. They're a member of the Big Ten in hockey. They're a member of every sport except for hockey and football in the ACC. And then in football, they're independent. So they're 3 different members across their sports. So you could see something like that where, a team is a member in this sport but not a member in that sport. There's people that's a lot smarter than me figuring this out. I'm sure it'll get figured out. I'm sure basketball, I'm not going to say it's not going to take a hit. It might, but I think basketball will be fine and will survive. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Basketball can't and won't split off from the NCAA. They literally call it the NCAA tournament. So basketball is not going to split off from the NCAA. Football might. So that'll get figured out. Is it something to think about now? Yeah, it is, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think basketball will be fine and it'll survive. I appreciate everybody that jumped on and contributed to the show. I appreciate all the super chats, all the comments. Great show, guys. I've been having a blast here recently. We had a massive boom over the past 2 weeks, gained over 1,500 subscribers. It slowed down a little bit, but that's okay. I'm still getting a lot of views because of that big boom. But the big goal is 10,000 by the end of the year. So if you stumbled across this, what the heck is this? It's college football, guys. If you're a college football fan, this is a must subscribe. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers, and we greatly appreciate it. Until next time, guys, and I don't know when next time's going to be. Like I said at the beginning, I stopped scheduling. Make sure to turn on that bell, the notifications. That way you get notified when I go live, because I can't handle a schedule. Things pop up and I got to push it, and it just doesn't work out. So turn on your notifications because I don't even know when the next live show is. Could be tomorrow, could be Thursday. I don't know. Turn on the notifications. But until then, go to Blued It Out and have a good week.